Hello everyone, this is Kim Lay with A2Q2, and in this video I'm going to focus on the biotech industry, particularly for a biotech that is getting ready to go public or is an IPO readiness initiative. We're focused on the biotech because that typically has the clinical trial accrual process or the clinical manufacturing cost. So here we go. As a private company preparing for a public company initiative, these are the five typical activities, and I'm going to explain which ones I would definitely do, which ones are recommended and optional. Let's start with the assessing control gaps. And so clinical trial accruals and clinical manufacturing cost, very unique to biotech. What we would typically do is recommend assessing the control gaps. Similar to any of the other processes, going to interview current process owners, understand what the current process is, identify the gaps. From there, you're going to document in flowcharts or narratives, and historically, narratives were the document or the deliverable at the end of this. Now we are recommending flowcharts because most Big Four external auditors are pushing you towards flowcharts because the PCAOB is pushing them. Their regulators are looking at them and saying, do you understand a transaction from the initiation all the way to the recording into the financial statements? In conjunction with documenting your process and your process and controls, you're going to be preparing a risk control matrix. They go hand in hand. A risk control matrix is a listing of the controls. So it doesn't have your process, it doesn't have some of the connectors in between. It just says these are the controls, these are the risks, or what could go wrong. Those are the bare minimum that we would recommend for a company preparing for to go public. Next, we would recommend doing walkthroughs. Now, walkthroughs are show and tells. That's where you will sit with the process owner and they'll share with you on screen, this is how I receive a transaction, this is how I prepare it, this is how I see it being approved, this is the response I get, these are the reports I download, this is a journal entry I prepare, actually seeing step by step these activities for one transaction from beginning to end. The difference between assessing control gap and the walkthrough is that the walkthrough gives you that next level down. It is a test of design, otherwise known as TOD. And what you're looking for, because you can see the granularity of it, your control language, the control description can be much more targeted. It can actually say, review includes looking at the dates, looking at totals, recalculating, agreeing back to something, and you can actually see that person doing it, or at least coach them and give them feedback that these are the additional steps they may need to do. And then testing. Testing is purely optional as a private company and a company preparing to go public. If you, from a resource perspective, I would focus on designing the control, making sure you train your process owners to do it, have them do it consistently, and do a walkthrough. And if you have extra time and extra resources, then do the testing piece of it. Now, let's focus on the clinical trial accrual process. So when we document this, we typically look at just an overview of the types of trials they have, what's the selection criteria, when the trial initiates and the monitoring of it. The real reporting accounting implications actually comes when at the end of a month, end of a quarter, how much do you have to pay that service organization to run your clinical trials? Most of our technology biotech companies outsource running of the trials because they don't have the resources, the pool of patients internally themselves, so they find another organization that will do it. How much is that cost? How much should we be accruing? Very typical for the outside organizations to sometimes send invoices late, so you have to do an estimate. And there may be other times when there are prepayments that you have to make to the outsourced clinical trial organization. So that's why prepayments, what's existing in your vendor payments, did we get all the invoices from a month ago 2 months ago, 6 months ago. We've sometimes seen some of these organizations go back a bit further to do that. And then on the accruals, do we have the right factors to know what our costs are, because we have to record and close our books fairly quickly within 8 to 5 days, and our vendors are not sending these estimates to us on a timely basis. A lot of companies start to build out reports that they can then use accrual methodologies to do that. And then finally, the reconciliation. So you've prepared the accrual, you've recorded the journal entries. How does that compare to invoices when you do receive it? Do you need to true up or down the amount from previous months, previous quarters? On the clinical manufacturing cost, that's when a company has advanced further and they don't want to actually own the manufacturing process itself. Instead, they've outsourced it to a different organization. And if you've outsourced that, again, it's the accruals. How do you know how much you've committed to, how much, where are they at, how much do you owe them? And then reconciling that accrual to invoices that actually come in, statements that come in. These are the typical processes for a biotech, very unique from any of the other industries. Hope that was helpful, and I'll talk with you soon. Bye-bye.